A man joins a big corporate empire as a trainee. On his very first day of work, he dials the pantry and shouts into the phone, "Get me a coffee, quickly!" It turns out that he didn't dial the pantry at all. The voice from the other side responded, "You fool! You've dialed the wrong extension. Do you know who you're talking to, Dumbo?" "No," replied the trainee. "It's the CEO of the company, you fool." The trainee pauses for a moment to think about an appropriate response. The trainee shouts back, "And do you know who you are talking to, you fool?" "No," replied the CEO indignantly. "Good," replied the trainee, and puts down the phone. Emily was complaining to her mother that her stomach hurt. Her mother replied, "That's because it's empty. Maybe you should try putting something in it." The next day, the pastor was over at Emily's family's house for lunch. He mentioned having his head hurt, to which Emily immediately replied, "That's because it's empty. Maybe you should try putting something in it." I was sitting down enjoying leftovers from the fridge and looking at all these pictures in the family album and trying to remember each face, but it suddenly dawned upon me I was in the wrong house. Charlie, a new retiree greeter at Walmart, just couldn't seem to get to work on time. Every day he was 5, 10, 15 minutes late. But he was a good worker, really tidy, clean-shaven, sharp-minded, and a real credit to the company, and obviously demonstrating their older person-friendly policies. One day the boss called him into the office for a talk. "Charlie, I have to tell you, I like your work ethic. You do a bang-up job when you finally get here, but your being late so often is quite bothersome." "Yes, sir, I know, and I am working on it." "Well, good. You are a team player. That's what I like to hear." "Yes, sir, I understand your concern, and I'll try harder." Seeming puzzled, the manager went on to comment, "It's odd, though, you coming in late. I know you're retired from the armed forces. What did they say to you there if you showed up in the morning so late and so often?" The old man looked down at the floor, then smiled. He chuckled quietly, then said with a grin, "They usually saluted and said, 'Good morning, General. Can I get your coffee, sir?'" Two nicely dressed ladies happened to start up a conversation during an endless wait in the Los Angeles airport. The first lady was an arrogant Californian woman married to a wealthy man. The second was a well-mannered elderly woman from the South. When the conversation centered on whether they had any children, the California woman started by saying, "When my first child was born, my husband built a beautiful mansion for me." The lady from the South commented, "Well, bless your heart." The first woman continued, "When my second child was born, my husband bought me a beautiful Mercedes-Benz." Again, the lady from the South commented, "Well, bless your heart." The first woman continued, "Then, when my third child was born, my husband bought me this exquisite diamond bracelet." Yet again, the Southern lady commented, "Well, bless your heart." The first woman then asked her companion, "What did your husband buy for you when you had your first child?" "My husband sent me to charm school," declared the Southern lady. "Charm school?" the first woman said, amazed. "Oh my God!" "What on earth for?" The Southern lady responded, "Well, for example, instead of saying, 'Who gives a shucks?' I learned to say, 'Well, bless your heart.'" A group of elderly, excited women were sitting together in the front pew of a church, listening to a fiery preacher. When this preacher condemned the sin of stealing, they all cried out at the tops of their lungs, "Amen, brother!" When the preacher condemned the sin of lust, they yelled again, "Preach it, Reverend!" And when the preacher condemned the sin of lying, they jumped to their feet and screamed, "Right on, brother! Tell it like it is. Amen." But when the preacher condemned the sin of gossip, all four got very quiet. One turned to the others and said, "He's quit preaching, and now he's just meddling." A ship was traveling in a dangerous part of the sea when the captain saw a pirate ship approaching their vessel. The captain yells to his crew, "Men, bring me my red shirt." The The crew brings him his red shirt. He puts it on and leads the men in battle. They lose one man, but on the whole, it was a great victory. Everyone wonders what the deal is with the red shirt, but they just shrug it off. A few days later, the captain sees 2 pirate ships in the distance. He again yells, "Men, bring me my red shirt!" The crew does so, and they fight off the pirates. They lose a few more men this time, but at least most of them are unharmed. However, this time, curiosity got the best of them, and they ask the captain why he's asked for his red shirt during the battles. He answers, "Well, crew, I know all of you look to me for support and morale. I knew there would be a good chance of me getting injured, and I didn't want you to see me all bloody and fear that all is lost. Therefore, I put on a red shirt so that my injuries will blend in with the shirt." A few weeks later, the ship is traveling in another sea, and in the distance there are suddenly 10 fearsome pirate ships. The captain spots them and yells, "Men, bring me my brown pants." Brown. A Sunday school teacher was teaching her class about the difference between right and wrong. "All right, children, let's take another example," she said. "If I were to get into a man's pocket and take his wallet with all his money, what would I be?" Johnny raises his hand and with a confident smile he blurts out, "You'd be his wife." A male mosquito to its wife. "Darling, I will hunt a lion for you." Female mosquito. "Okay, fine, now go to sleep." Male mosquito. "I will bite an elephant and bring his blood for you." Female mosquito. "Sure, love, go to sleep." Male mosquito. "I will drive you around Paris in a Mercedes." Female mosquito. Okay, go to sleep." Male mosquito. "You don't trust me? I will get you a 100 grams gold chain." Female mosquito. "You idiot, go to sleep." Male mosquito. "Honey, I'll do anything for you." Female mosquito. "You fool. How many times have I told you not to come home after biting a politician?" After celebrating their 25th wedding anniversary with a romantic dinner at a restaurant, the wife thanked her husband for a wonderful evening. "It's not over yet," he said, and once back at the house, he presented her with a little black velvet box. She opened it in eager anticipation, but found nothing more than 2 pills inside. "What are these pills?" she asked, puzzled. "Aspirin." "But I don't have a headache." "Gotcha!" he cried triumphantly. A state trooper spots an old Harley rider cruising down a back road at 22 miles per hour. Suspicious, he pulls him over. As the officer approaches, he notices the rider's buddies on the back, white-knuckled, wide-eyed, and looking like they'd just seen the gates of heaven. The old rider says, "Officer, I don't get it. I was doing exactly the speed limit." 22 miles an hour, just like the sign said. The trooper sighs. "Sir, that wasn't the speed limit. That was the route number." The old biker scratches his beard and laughs. "Well, thanks for clearing that up." The trooper nods, then glances again at the pale passengers. You sure your buddies are okay?" "Oh, they'll be fine," the old rider says with a grin. "We just got off Route 119. A burglar was caught in a farm in Spain. The farmer said to him, "As punishment, you can either milk all the cows or have a fist fight with my brother." The burglar said, "Do I have a third option?" The farmer replied, "No, it's Juan or the udder." A man prepares his donkey and dog for a long journey up a mountain. He places a pack straddle on the donkey's back and fills everything to maximum weight. Because of the weight, he decides to pull the donkey along so that it does not become tired as easily. The man, donkey, and his guard dog now begin the long trip up a mountain to get to the other side. Hours into their long and quiet trip, the man becomes very tired. He stops the donkey and decides that he is going to ride it. Just as he starts to mount the donkey, out of nowhere the donkey says, "Stop! I'm sick of being your mule. I hate you. Stop using me. The man is bewildered, as he has never once before heard an animal speak, and takes off running as fast as he can back down the mountain with the dog right behind him. As he gets to the bottom in record time, he stops and catches his breath. He is beyond scared and says in a scared tone, "Whoa, I have never heard a donkey speak before." The dog replies, "Me neither." Me. Man boarded his flight to Chicago and made his way to the aisle seat he had reserved. To his surprise, a blonde woman was already sitting there. "Excuse me," Man said, trying to stay polite. "That's my seat. I specifically booked it." The woman looked up and said confidently, "I'm blonde, I'm smart, and I'm sitting in this aisle seat until the plane lands in Chicago." Man frowned and checked her ticket. Sure enough, it clearly showed she was assigned the middle seat. "Your ticket says you're in the middle," he pointed out. "I booked this aisle seat because I'm 6'5" and I need the legroom. You're, what, 5'1"? You'll be just fine in the middle seat." The blonde, completely unfazed, repeated, "I'm blonde, I'm smart, and I'm sitting in this aisle seat until the plane lands in Chicago." The woman in the window seat chimed in, "You should probably move. My ex was only 6'1", and he always needed the aisle seat to avoid feeling cramped." Still, the blonde replied, "I'm blonde, I'm smart, and I'm sitting in this aisle seat until the plane lands in Chicago." Frustrated, Man finally called over a flight attendant. After listening to the situation, the attendant nodded, leaned down, and whispered something in the blonde's ear. Suddenly, the blonde's expression changed. Without a word, she grabbed her things and moved to the middle seat. Relieved, Man settled into his aisle seat. After landing in Chicago, curiosity got the better of him. He approached the flight attendant and asked, "What did you say to her?" The attendant grinned. "I told her the aisle seat wasn't going to Chicago." An elderly pope arrives in New York and is picked up at the airport by a limousine. Upon seeing the car, he gestures to the driver and says, "Could I ask you a favor?" The driver, astonished, replies, "A favor from the Pope? Of course, anything." "Well," says the Pope, "I don't get to drive much, and I'd love the chance to drive now. Would you let me take the wheel?" The driver is taken aback. What if the Pope gets into an accident? But he feels he can't refuse His Holiness, so he reluctantly agrees and lets the Pope take the driver's seat. To his shock, the Pope starts the car, revs the engine, and speeds off, leaving a trail of rubber on the road. He zooms through the streets, well over 100 miles per hour in a 45 miles per hour zone. Soon, a police car pulls up beside them and signals for the limo to stop. The Pope slams on the brakes, coming to a screeching halt, with the police car following suit. The officer steps out, peers inside the limo, and then quickly steps back. He radios his sergeant. "Sir, I've got a situation." The sergeant replies, "What's the problem?" The officer hesitates. "Well, I pulled over this driver for speeding, but he's really important." "Important like the mayor?" asks the sergeant. "No, much more important than that." "The governor?" "Much more than that." "The president?" "Even more important than him." The sergeant, confused, asks, "Who's more important than the president?" The officer responds, "I'm not sure, Sarge, but he has the Pope driving for him."